Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar. Run for the latest UKV, Heatwave precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days as we are heading into a heat wave as we head into the start of next working week. It's still going to be very warm through this weekend, 26, 27 degrees, but we're going to officially reach those heat wave thresholds through Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And for much of England and Wales, it is going to be into the low 30s, perhaps peaking at 34 or 35 degrees. At the moment, the real big heat, those sort of low to mid 30s, look like could subside from around Thursday, Friday onwards, perhaps drawing further and further to the south and the east. And there is the risk later on we could see some showers and storms as we see a bit of instability moving through. But that is stretching out to that sort of day 7 time frame where we've still got quite a bit of uncertainty. As we progress into the longer range, so beyond that 7 days, as we'll see from the longer range charts, we are definitely looking likely to stay above average, at least with high pressure in and around. But as I said, that risk of some instability moving in does start to encroach. So there definitely is a possibility that we see further spikes of heat as we head through the second half of August. But yeah, overall consistency at the moment is for the heat, as which is coming next week. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, which do like and subscribe. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see not too much going on this evening. We're on this around 8:30 on Friday night. It's a beautiful evening out there for most. Temperatures have been, again, around that low to mid-20s, so warm and very pleasant in the sun, but not too oppressive. The oppressive heat is coming in a few days' time. A few showers across northern Scotland, and we'll still see a bit of cloud and rain there in the next couple of days before the high pressure does firmly build in for all. I've put on those temperatures this evening. You can see warmest across southern and eastern areas, cooler further north and westwards. Again, that is pretty standard stuff in this sort of setup. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV, you can see there is the risk of further showers overnight, perhaps a weak weather front moving through. Could give a bit of heavy rain for a short time into the Saturday morning, but it does dissipate away, fizzles away quite quickly into Saturday afternoon. Most are dry and sunny, a few odd showers around, but again, pretty similar to Friday. As we head into Sunday, start to see that warmth and sunshine more widely across England, Wales and into eastern Scotland. A bit more in the way of cloud and rain, further westwards again, a few showers breaking out. Into Sunday night, into Monday morning, we could see another weak weather front heading through northern areas. Again, we're seeing this bit of a north-south split here. So the heat is building in the south, but still a little bit of unsettled conditions further northward, so perhaps could be a little bit worse there. So again, bits and bobs of rain moving through, but into Monday afternoon, a lot of that rain does retreat. For most, start to see more sunshine, but with that increased humidity, perhaps a little bit more of cloud bubbling up, and then a few odd showers could come through Monday evening. And then as we head into Tuesday, again, a few odd showers for northern Scotland, but most across England and Wales are basking in the sunshine. Temperatures, as I said, up into the low 30s, quite widely, maybe even mid 30s. As we head into Wednesday, we start to see that heat retreating a little bit to the southeast. So still very hot, but some of those areas further northwards go back to maybe high 20s, more low 30s in the far southeast. So we are looking at 3 or 4 days widely of extreme heat, maybe locally, especially for southern and eastern areas. Could be 5-6 days where temperatures are up towards that 30-degree range or more. Now, if you put on the upper air temperatures, nothing too remarkable over the next few days. As we head into Sunday, though, the upper air temperatures start to just nudge into the double digits, maybe 10 or 11 degrees. Beyond that, into Monday, this is where we start to see the temperatures into the 30s. Look at that, low teens, mid-teens starting to approach, and it's really into Tuesday where this real big spike of heat approaches from the south, widely 18 to 20 degrees at 850 HP. Again, if we saw this sort of air mass sustained, we could be looking at the upper 30s, but it is only passing through. You can see it moves through Tuesday evening and retreats further south and eastwards into Wednesday afternoon. So slowly cool air pooling into the north and the west. So very hot there from Monday, Tuesday and for Wednesday, but you can see that heat is slowly starting to get pulled away there as we head into the second half of next week. But still, for those southern and eastern areas, for much of England, still going to be very hot even into Thursday, maybe Friday as well. Now, if you look at the max temperatures today, it said low 20s or mid 20s in England and Wales, more towards the high teens further northwards. Into Saturday, temperatures slightly higher, 25, 26, but again, nothing too remarkable, slightly above average for summer. As we head into Sunday, pretty similar, more widely maybe, low 20s up towards the mid 20s, but again, not really exceeding that 26, 27 degree range. Of course, the heatwave thresholds for sort of London and the hottest areas across eastern England are 28 degrees, so we're not reaching them as of Sunday. But Monday, that's where we start to exceed those thresholds, and you can see the afternoon widely 28 to 30 degrees across a large swathe of England, so starting to get to that oppressive heat level, and you can see it firmly gets there into Tuesday. Look at that, widely 30 to 34 degrees. Again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a localized 35 somewhere in there, so really hot conditions. It's pretty much in line with some of the heat we saw earlier on in the summer. It could be a little bit more oppressive though, because from the looks of this, the air mass does look to be slightly hotter than the heat waves we had earlier on this summer, but it was because those were during the peak summer days, those peak days between late June and late July, where the sun is strongest, the days are longest, so we can really squeeze those temperatures to the surface. Whereas we're getting towards sort of middle August here, so still hot potential there, but it becomes increasingly harder to see things above 35 degrees or so. So perhaps if this has occurred maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, then maybe we could have seen a 36 or 37 out there, maybe even a 38. But in this case, still oppressive. We are worrying over some statistics there. But for most of you out there, it is going to feel very hot. And 34 or 36 is going to feel oppressive regardless. Warm nights, but hopefully down into the teens, so hopefully not too many tropical nights out there. And then into Wednesday afternoon, again, still looking at low 30s, but you can see that area has shrunk and not seeing many up towards 33 or 34. So already the heat starting to retreat away by Wednesday. But I suspect still even into Thursday, still could be hot across the far east and the far south. So you can see really hotting up over the next few days, some pleasant warmth through this weekend. So if you have got plans, it's probably best the next 2 days, as it's still pretty dry, it's still warm, it's still sunny, not too oppressive. Monday through to Wednesday though, yes, it could be really hot indeed as we do head into the middle portion of the month. Now, if you look at the latest GFS, you see this is occurring as high pressure builds in with a southerly push into early next week. Eventually, though, we could see some slight lower pressure breaking through. So it'll be interesting to see the UKV in the next day or two, as we could start to see perhaps a few showers and storms cropping up. But at the moment, high pressure is mostly in control, and you can see actually longer range high pressure returns. Now, we don't have a southerly wind here, so we're not pulling up very hot air, but still hot enough to get up into the high 20s, maybe 30 degrees, before eventually the end of the run completely reverses everything and it goes into a cold northerly. So GFS for 75-80% of its run keeps this hot dry pattern, for it does go cold there into the final week of August. So hopefully that doesn't happen, as that could ruin that bank holiday weekend we have right at the end of the month. But we'll have to keep a very close eye on what happens as we do head there. But again, medium term, high pressure in control, lots of warmth, lots of heat, and it looks very pleasant indeed. Now the GM is very similar, and it keeps the heat all the way out to day 10. Again, hot conditions as we head into early next week with that southerly wind, 50 degree isotherm comes overall, 20 degree isotherm flirts with those eastern areas. As we progress later on next week, yes, we lose the 20 degree isotherm, but it just retreats slightly back into France. And then we see perhaps another push right at the end of this run with another little southerly flow coming in. It's because of this low out in the Atlantic. It is drawing a southerly wind, so it could bring some storms and some showers with it, but would still remain very oppressive and very hot. You can see the stream of heat coming up from North Africa and heading and pooling across much of Northern and Western Europe. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, high pressure firmly in control, low pressure breaking through for a time later on next week, but it's really weak low pressure. It's nothing really to write home about, just a few showers and storms. And then towards day 10, again, high pressure building back in. But again, a little bit more west-based, which means that perhaps more north or northwesterly flows could occur, which could keep it a little bit cooler than what we've got at the moment. So fingers crossed it stays hot and it stays dry, or at least stays warm. Maybe not oppressively hot, that's the best conditions, at least in my opinion, but hopefully it stays warm there into the final sort of 10 or 12 days of the month. We'll just have to see exactly what happens to that high, where it does go. Now, do finish by looking at the latest ensembles. You can see average over the next couple of days, but at the surface, with lots of sunshine and warm air building, it's going to feel a little bit above average. It's at 25, 26 degrees. Temperatures climb, though, rapidly through Monday and Tuesday, peaking around the 20-degree isotherm. It is a peak, though. We're not there for too long. If we were there for another day or two, then I definitely think high 30s could have been a possibility. 36, 37, maybe 38 degrees. But we do drop off later on as we do head into the end of next week. But you can still see we are consistently above average by at least 2 or 3 degrees, which does keep us, as I said, warm and hopefully dry, but there is some precipitation spikes appearing. So still a little bit to play for there, with that little low coming through later on next week. But that's something that's, 6 or 7 days away, so we can worry about that nearer the time. For the time being, though, looking pretty pleasant indeed, pretty decent. And hopefully we are going to see some proper summer weather for the last couple of weeks of meteorological summer. Of course, it's been a very warm. We've had plenty of heat waves. I think we've had 3 previous heat waves. This is going to be officially the 4th. Again, late July into early August, we did have a little bit of a dip in conditions, a bit more in the way of rain, a bit cooler conditions, not as much sunshine, a bit more drab in places. But it looks like we're seeing a return to that summer conditions we had late June into early July, turning us back towards that sunny, hot pattern. We could be here in a week's time wishing it for it to be a little bit less oppressive, but from the looks of it, it looks like it is going to be fairly nice indeed. Now, I do finish by looking at the latest ECMWF again. Pretty similar to the GFS, spiking in heat as we head into next week. Perhaps not quite as high of a spike, not quite getting up to the 20-degree isotherm, at least as much, but then a drop-off as we do head into later next week, but still hovering a couple of degrees above average like the majority of the GFS runs. So pretty much in line with the temperatures, maybe not quite as high, maybe not as optimistic, but you can see definitely a little bit more pessimistic in the way of precipitation. You can see a lot more spikes appearing there, 14th, 15th, so 6-7 days time onwards. Still a little bit in the medium to longer term to give us, any real deal of certainty with that. But definitely something to keep an eye on. We have noted it the last couple of days, and it's starting to get towards that short time frame. As I said, looking at the UKV in the next day or two will give us real insights into what sort of precipitation we could see and where. Because of course it all depends on where that little low pressure system does move through. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you enjoy the warmth this weekend. Oppressive heat is coming next week, so some of you might enjoy that, some of you might not enjoy that. So do be prepared, as I said, it is going to be very hot in many areas, back towards those levels we saw earlier in the summer. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.